Hey Astros fans, welcome to today's edition of Extra Innings, the Astros Fans UK next day recap on Astros ball games. Game 98, Astros 6, Mariners 7, losing in 11 innings. Let's dive into the big talking points from a horrible loss to drop the series inside 2 games in a wild, chaotic ball game with 3 up, 3 down. 3 up, leading off Jose Altuve and Victor Caratini. The Little Boss and 24 both had great games at the plate, each with 3 hits and an RBI, plus a walk for Altuve and 2 for Caratini, as along with the next man I'm about to highlight, did all they could to drag us back into the ball game from an early deficit. Neither deserved to be on the losing side here, even if Caratini's framing behind the plate in this one didn't help out some of our pitchers at times. Up second, Christian Walker. His difficult Astros debut season is well documented by now, so for him to have a 2-hit, 2 RBI, 2 walk game was just what the doctor ordered. Of course, the baseball gods still had him strike out swinging in the 11th, but in the main part of the game, this was a much better night for Walker and showed some intelligent, patient hitting. Up third, bullpen middle relief success. It was a really good night for most of our bullpen, as Stephen Ocker, Ryan Gusto, Bennett Sousa and Brian King combined to pitch 4 1/3 hitless innings, giving up just 1 walk, as they held the Mariners offense down to allow a comeback to materialize, with bounce-back outings for Ocker and Sousa. 3 down, first out, Lance McCullers Jr. The narrative from his numbers had been that LMJ struggles were at home and that he thrived on the road. However, it wasn't the case here on another rough night for Lance. It didn't look like being the case after a 12-pitch 1-2-3 first inning, but he ran into a largely self-inflicted downward spiral in the second, giving up 3 walks and 1 run before just barely escaping a bases-loaded situation on a gift strike 3 call. To be fair, LMJ hadn't been getting calls prior to that, but he wasn't able to recover in this outing, giving up 3 runs in the third to put us down 1-4 and in a hole, departing on 75 pitches. Lance's apparent lack of a dominant fastball since returning has left him over-reliant on his slider, and with hitters aware of this, has led to him giving up walks while batters wait for him to pitch in the zone. It's a worrying problem for the Astros, and I really don't know where we go with him. Second out, Cam Smith and Yainer Diaz. Smith did drive in an early tying run in the third, but it was the only success for him in a game where the rookie came to the plate with a staggering total of 11 runners on base, 5 of those in scoring position, unfortunately striking out twice, grounding into a double play and flying out. Yainer similarly had a total of 10 runners on base, 6 of those in scoring position, but picked up only 1 hit with a runner at first. We would leave an awful 15 runners on base, many from Smith and Yainer. Third out, Brian Abreu and Josh Hader. Twice on the cusp of what would have been a huge battling comeback victory. Unfortunately, our much vaunted back end of the bullpen faltered when we needed them most. Abreu was back at the scene of his meltdown outing in April, another 6-7 loss, but failed to exercise the demons here, with a 5-4 lead in the 8th as a leadoff double given up to Randy Arozarena eventually ended up tying the game in disappointing fashion on a wild pitch from Abreu with 2 outs. Hader, however, started strongly with a nervous bottom of the 9th tightrope walk in the tied game, but after we had eked out another lead via Manfred in the top of the 10th, Hader couldn't close the door on the win, being his own worst enemy with a stunning misfield after getting improbable comeback contact off the knob of Dylan Moore's bat, when a throw to home to prevent the tying run scoring was definitely on for what would have been a critical second out. Whilst Hader prevented the walk-off in the 10th, it only delayed the inevitable, as our poor 11th with the bats was followed by Hector Neris being walked off, as our chances to win this game had sadly passed. A few extra points to finish on. Injury crisis nightmare. Injury was added to insult early on as Isaac Paredes departed with his 2nd hamstring injury of the season. With our hugely lengthy IL, we really have to hope it isn't a tear. And picking up the pieces, 7 losses in our last 8 games, division lead down to 3. We really need Hunter Brown to rediscover his best in the series finale. That's it for today's Extra Innings, the next day recap. Let me know your takes on the loss in the comments. Make sure you're following at Astros Fans UK on all platforms, and I'll catch you tomorrow for the next edition of Extra Innings. Go Stros!